Alex, is my audio coming through okay or strangely?
That's coming through fine.
Okay, great. Good. So, is an hour sufficient, Alex? I really want to get deep enough so that I can actually see what's in Vaiscope, because I know you've been talking about Vaiscope for quite a while, and I feel
Yeah,
that you've probably been frustrated that people are not picking up on it and not understanding it. So I really wanted to spend some time and really try and see if I can get it.
it's, it's, it's a difficult one for me to get through to some people. And it's probably because I need to focus on global issues like the regions instead of smaller groups, because it's
So, is there a 30-second summary of what Vaiscope is? What is the actual essence of it, Alex?
a ground up community group.
It's a ground up community group. Okay, so how is it different from other things that would call themselves ground up community groups?
Well, there's a lot of them. The Rotaract, that's a global organisation. They have local chapters, and then there's the Lions, another global organisation, the Country Women's Association. There's a whole book full. There's a whole book full that look like a telephone directory,
Yep.
and they're community organisations run by community groups, and usually not-for-profit community agencies and churches, religious
Okay.
organisations. Yeah, but this is a similar thing from the ground up. You know why these self-help groups have meetings regularly to get people to come along and listen so they recover from whatever ailment they have?
You mean like 12-step programs?
Yeah, there's hundreds of them.
Yep.
Well, getting the people who attend those groups and gain the benefits of them are not sharing it with the rest of the world. They're getting all those benefits, recovering from their old habits and developing new ways of living creatively and happily which they start living again. And they're not sharing those secrets with the world. They're keeping it to themselves because of the anonymity. And I think the rest of the world should have a group. If the rest of the world had their own group to recover from the old paradigm, it'd be a little bit easier for them. They'd have a lot of people isolate and don't get out much. And if they had a reason to get a motivation to go out and meet people, it might be something as simple as forming a segment for their local area, or a web entrepreneur going a step further and forming a district group for the whole region with a URL, with their own URL.
Okay, so suppose a Rotary group or suppose the Lions group created their own web presence. Would that be similar to what you're proposing?
Yes.
Okay.
That the individual members can also have their own page. Specifically, an individual with a segment, in other words, an individual with two friends who have signed the agreement, or I wouldn't say signed the agreement, I would say made the pledge to the planet, that'd be a page for them to have. That'd be their segment page on the tree, on the regional tree. So the seed would be planted in a region, and it would grow from one person who added two friends to a segment, and those two people would branch it out like a Ponzi scheme into 4, then 8, and 16. That's where the exponential growth comes in. But the tree would continue growing until it reached the population limit, the geographical population limit of the region. And of course, there'd be a lot of people would refuse to join because it didn't suit their ideological beliefs.
Right.
So
That was
there,
my next question is what is the compelling reason for someone to join?
it's for the people power emergence. We got a global democracy. We've got a potential global organic democracy, a GOD. It's only a potential because of the holochain and the blockchain and the smart contracts. By using a modified smart contract system provided by one of the giants, Holo or Ethereum. How do you pronounce Ethereum and blockchain?
Yeah.
But I don't like the fact that they're mining. That's using too much energy.
Ethereum.
Ethereum. The mining uses too much energy, in my opinion.
In everybody's opinion. For
It
blockchain.
could, yeah. So why not operate a virtual computer? Use a virtual CPU with hundreds of cores, hundreds of thousands of cores, in a virtual environment on a supercomputer. The internet is the
It'll
computer.
still take that same energy, Alex.
Yeah, yeah, it's calculating. So I just thought maybe we could avoid all that calculating altogether and just grant each participant one coin each. And the value of that coin would be dependent upon what they start producing, if they start producing something. If they don't start producing anything that sit on the market value of that coin. If it was a Bitcoin, it'd be what, $17,000. But if it was a Vaiscope coin, it'd be something else. But I don't think Vaiscope needs a coin. I'd rather just give people mana, grant people smart contract certificates, which we can call mana, for providing contact to the network, and they can exchange that mana in whatever currency they choose, the currency of their choice.
So I'm trying to get at, let's suppose the system existed, right? What would be your pitch to me? Why would I join, given that there's lots of places to put my attention and money and energy and content? Why would I join this?
Well, the pitch would be to provide your participation in the scheme would provide extra membership and strengthen the program that develops a advertising kiosk in the region. And the funds, 100% of the after cost revenue from that advertising kiosk gets distributed to the region's early birds who enter the scheme. And it's not a salary, it's not a payment or a salary or a wage or a commission. It's simply a reward for membership achieving a goal. When a member achieves a goal by getting some seeds planted in the local region, they've achieved that goal and they get a reward from their membership in the organisation. So that's the kiosk can advertise for sustainable local small businesses and large businesses, provided they're sustainable products and services. So we don't want to advertise automobiles.
We're joining in order to get revenue from a kiosk.
Well, if we want to put our members' content up on a kiosk, where some of the members might be artists, some of them might be wanting to advertise what they call classified advertisements, so that the free space available at the kiosk for those local people to do that. And other areas of the kiosk would be sponsored by advertisers. People like Apple, if they're trying to go green, they're trying to go 100% renewable energy, maybe Telstra electric cars and solar panels. These organisations that might want to support or sponsor the kiosk. Some of them would sponsor the whole kiosk for the region. Some of them would want to get mass advertising on every kiosk, and they'd want a reduction for their mass advertising. But provided we can give them cost-effective rates for the space they use on the kiosk, I think a lot of businesses would be attracted to that. When times are hard, businesses are told to advertise more and increase their advertising budget. So I believe. I've heard that in some business circles. It's generally accepted advice. If you've got the funds available, spend them on advertising when the customers are not coming.
So, Alex, I guess I'm trying to figure out how this thing bootstraps. You know, what would be the reason to start the first node, the second node, the nth node? Do any of these nodes currently exist?
No, it's still in the gestation phase, I guess. What needs to happen in order for a group to get gestated and running and spreading is for an advertiser to join in the scheme, or a promoter or a sponsor of some description.
So it seems like on one side you need members, on the other side you need advertisers, and then maybe a third side you need someone to actually come and visit the site so that they generate traffic so that the advertising pays off and the members can get some commission or some income, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay, so in other words, you got to be able to stand up a server or a website. Then you got to have a reason for members to join. Then you got to have a reason for advertisers to join. And then there's a reason for web visitors to join. And so,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, not just a website. There's a real world structure that goes in a public place.
Okay, so what does that structure look like?
It looks like a advertising kiosk. It looks like a promotional advertising kiosk. When you go down the highway, sometimes you see those big ones on the side of the road. They're, what do you call those? Billboards. They're called billboards. But this is more like a community, a hexagon-shaped kiosk. There's a picture, a photograph of it on the website. You can walk in one side, walk out the other side. It's got solar panels on the roof to power the Vandal cam. But that'll probably be built if we can. The first one we build will be made out of bamboo, and hopefully we can get our hands on some hemp plastic.
Hempcrete?
Yeah, hemp plastic too. Remember, Henry Ford was going to make that car out of hemp plastic?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the first Model T.
Okay.
One of the first cars he made.
So, Alex, it sounds to me like this is a bootstrapping problem, because you got to sell the participant, you got to sell the advertiser, and then you got to sell website visitors on each of their value proposition, right? There's got to be a compelling reason for each of them.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like a chicken and an egg and a nest problem, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So those are always tough. I mean, I think that it's really hard to bootstrap those. So I'm trying to figure out how to get a start on this.
Well, I was trying to focus on the URLs for the region, because they might cost an entrepreneur $24 a year, 12 bucks a year for the registration fees, and some mobs are giving them away for nothing. But after about 5 or 6 years, that URL could climb up to 7,000 or 8,000.
As it gets traffic and as it gets valuable, yeah, right? Maybe. Okay.
As the local people begin to gather around, yeah.
All right. So give me an example. If I'm a participant, do I control what content, what advertising goes on this kiosk?
You do. In the terms and conditions, it says if we allow an advertiser who is not a responsible, environmentally sustainable operator, who meets the strict requirements laid down in the terms and conditions, that would nullify your right to, or you nullify your obligations to remain with the group. In other words, you're free to leave. If you see some advertiser whose ideals disagree with yours, or whose method of production and manufacture disagree with yours, maybe they're not using safe practices and causing pollution, then that'll keep us making sure we've got a close eye on who we allow advertising at the kiosks. It's got to be very strict. Companies that are awake to the warming situation on the planet, they're the type of advertisers that we want to attract.
So for them, what would be attractive about this kiosk versus, let's say, other places they can put their advertising money, like Google?
That's a question that I was thinking about, because when I was futuristically looking ahead 5 years, 10 years down the track, it became pretty clear that the problems that exist for environmental reasons are going to continue getting worse as the planet continues getting warmer. And the pressure coming from the public to do something about it politically and economically will be growing. So the popularity of this kind of kiosk is going to be growing along with it. And that, in turn, will attract more interest from advertisers and producers who might be willing to sponsor a kiosk or want to purchase advertising space at one of the kiosks.
Yeah, I think of this as a 3 or 4-way bootstrapping problem. So other than the URLs, do you have examples of an advertiser or a member participant or the content itself of the kiosk? Do you have any of that mocked up?
There's an image at Save Nature Free. If you go to the photos menu and look for the photos section or the artwork section, it's in the photos section at groupstartup.net. And it's a page called Photos in the drop-down menu where it says Other Stuff. And that's a picture of, it's a mock-up, it's a 3D studio mock-up type of thing, a CAD picture.
Are there existing guidelines on content or look and feel or link structure or other content that you need to abide by in order to become part of this?
I'd rather leave that to the groups. I'd like to move away from the idea of like a franchise with a set schema like Kentucky Fried Chicken or McDonald's. That will allow each regional group to establish a kiosk of their own design. What was the first part of your question?
I was just wondering, what structure is common, what content is common, or what feel is common across all of these sites. Because if there's not a common structure or theme or look and feel or whatever, then I'm wondering what this network really represents. Would it actually be recognizable to someone?
Yeah, well, it's just a development I was working on with Save Nature Free. It had a picture of the world with a little leaf coming out the top, as if it was a seed that had just germinated. You see it on quite a few different environmental websites. It's just a picture of a green world with a little leaf coming out the top. Well, that looked like a logo that would But there's been many other logos that would suit for branding purposes, marketing or branding or logo labeling. But the other common thing that would identify the group is the 12 traditions. Apart from that, the pages the original group has on its website would be up to them, basically, if they want to use a template, they're welcome to, but if they want to redesign it their own way, they're welcome to as well. It's very open. It's got to be very open and free. There's a lot of freedoms there for a group to mould their website to how they like it and how their region, what's usually acceptable for people who live in that region. Right?
Okay. So I think, Alex, what would help me to understand this is to see some examples. Look at an example for, let's say, whatever region you might have begun to mock up, and an example of a kiosk or an example of an advertiser or an example of a search where a person would actually land on the kiosk or land on one of the member pages. Is there like a demo script that you could put together that would actually illustrate all these concepts and really give a person an experience of what this might be if it were real?
Well, that's a good idea. What I've been trying to explain on the website is the basic idea of a global group starting from individual power, individual action. It's the part that was difficult was trying to explain it in a way that wouldn't make people immediately shout out, "Oh, Ponzi scheme, recruitment, MLM marketing." It is a bit like that. If I designed it more like MLM marketing, it'd be like Avon. You heard of Avon or Herbalife?
Yes.
That's when a member has to join and provide a certain amount of sales or referrals before they can qualify to earn some payback reward.
Yeah.
In my case, I would want to pay people for planting trees. I call them the rewarded volunteers who plant trees, and there's a limit because a kiosk will only generate so much advertising revenue. And if that's split up between a number of people, the more people there are to split it up with, the lower the amount they get will be. So if I put a limit on 22 people per kiosk, it would work out at about $100 a year each. And if there's money left over, it would pay for the kiosk maintenance and public liability insurance.
Okay, so let me come at this a different angle. Okay, suppose this existed, Alex, and it was in full force, and you got lots of these things spread all over. How would it create the society or create the world that we want to see and live in?
It works by political activism. When there's a close election, a large group in the community will be listened to more. They'll have a louder voice than a smaller group, simply because of the number of voters in the group. And during a neck and neck election, the person trying to win the election becomes a head counter, and he'll steer his issues towards the people in the group that are having the largest amount of potential voters to get him into power. That's the dirty nature of politics. So, there's a lot of green people screaming out for cleaner energy in the community, and they're looking for groups like this. It's the sort of group they might be looking for.
Okay. So to me, Alex, it does seem like if you could put together that demonstration or that mock-up or that prototype and give people a sense of what this looks like and how to interact with it and how to mobilize the membership, how the revenue flows, that might actually then make it more comprehensible. Is that something that you could take on as a next step?
Do you want to see a picture of the kiosk?
I think you had one. Yeah, but sure, why not throw it up so we can have it as part of this record?
I'm scrolling through this folder full of images, but there's hundreds of images here. I'll try and locate it.
Okay, so you want to share one of them?
Have you seen this one before?
You have to share it first, Alex. Hit the share screen button at the bottom.
Yeah. I hit it twice. It's disabled. My share screen disabled.
Let me make you a co-host. Maybe that is possible. Okay, now can you do it?
No. You can locate it. You can locate it in the photos link at groupstartup.net.
I don't know. To me, I don't see any other controls for allowing you to share a screen.
No.
Okay.
I can go to full screen and I can go to Windows screen. But
okay. So for completeness, Alex, why don't you put the can you put the URL in the chat window?
I can't type in the chat window.
You can't?
No.
What happens when you try?
Nothing. I've got a mute button. I can hide myself. I can mute my audio, and that's about it.
I've already made you co-host, so that sounds strange. And the chat button seems to be. Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go. I had to double click.
Oh, okay, there you go. I can see your screen now. Structured, distributed, P2P, P2TP system layout example.
Yeah. Good. Can you see my cursor?
Yes, I can. Yes.
All right. Well, this is a city, a fairly large city, say like Chicago or Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. So these are nodes connected in that network model. Where are the kiosks?
These places here, the segments, nodes. These black ones.
Okay, so Vaiscope.net nodes are the kiosks.
Then they're neighborhoods.
Okay.
And these are people who live in the neighborhoods that use it.
So these will be physically scattered throughout a neighborhood?
These nodes, these kiosks, one in each neighborhood, one in each region. If a small neighborhood hasn't got enough members for one, they could join the next region and support that one. And
is there an issue with where it can be placed? Like, do you have to buy real estate in order to do this?
It's up to the local authorities, which will supply community groups with infrastructure. Mm-hmm. They're still so heavily dependent on the number of people in the local region group, because a lot of local regular authorities are quite corrupt.
Okay, Alex, I think it seems to me that there's a lot yet to be developed here, and a lot of questions I have about how this thing can work.
Well, here's another picture. That's the reason why people start yelling Ponzi scheme, because it's exponential growth. one person adding 2 friends, and training those 2 friends correctly on how to add 2 friends to their own segment. That results in a doubling of the numbers of members.
Okay. So question, Alex. Have you recruited 2 people? And if so, how did that go?
When I was running the other show called Save Nature Free, I recruited 718 people. Had 718 members at my own URL, Save Nature Free, and it wasn't a group startup segment. It was just the thing I started myself. I started adding friends, and I started messaging the friends I'd added. It was a social network like Ning. Have you seen the Ning? Have you seen any Ning?
Yeah, years ago. So did you train all 700 people, or did you train 2 of them, or how many of them knew how to do what you know how to do?
It was in the How It Works page. And I just started adding people, and one of them was a girl in Ireland, and she added about 30 people straight off the bat. I was saying all we need to do is add 2 people each, and the way she goes, she said, I can do better than that. So that was
Is that thing still growing?
No, it got shut down. The Ning network got brought out by a New York investment company, and at the same time, I sat on my computer watching the control panel. I logged in and I couldn't get attention from the website because the support people were not answering the emails, and there was no members joining. But previous to that, there'd been new members joining every month. There were 5 or 6 every month. But after this New York investment company brought the hosting firm, the number of members joining each month dropped to 0 and stayed that way. It was effectively hacked, killed off effectively. And I watched it.
Do you have such a instruction page on how to grow these sites and how to recruit people and what content to put on it and how to attract advertising and how to get seen by search engines?
There's what I'll put on the website. There's two websites running concurrently. All right. This is just how do you get out of the screen share?
I think you do stop sharing.
Zoom is using this application.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Okay.
All right, Alex. So I guess, yeah, I keep going back to if you had some concrete example and you had 1 or 2 people that you recruited who understood that experience of being recruited and why it made sense, I think that would go a long way towards making this comprehensible.
Yeah, well, I put the incentive in there. The incentive is a share of the local kiosk ad revenue, and in order for an early bird member to earn that reward, all they have to do is plant a couple of trees a month. If they can get 10 trees in the ground in 12 months, they'll earn a $100 gift certificate or reward from the local kiosk.
Assuming that you got the advertising coming, right?
That's right. 100% of the revenue will be distributed, but it's 100% of after cost revenue, because there'll be a cost associated with the upkeep, maintenance and upkeep of the kiosk, and somebody's got to go down there and put the ads in. They don't go down and put them in by themselves.
Okay.
So there'll be a local district committee governing a steering committee looking after their local kiosk, provided the group can get enough members in to support the local scheme.
Okay.
I need to attract a group. I'm not attracting individuals to that. In that case, I need to redesign the marketing effort to target community groups and try and get whole community groups on board all at once. That might be a tall order, but it could work too. It could work.
Okay. All right, Alex, what else is there to know about this? Is this enough? Do I get it now, or is there more to understand?
Well, there's the blog. There's a couple of pages that I should separate from the whole scheme of the idea of local kiosk advertising sustainable goods, and that is the pages where I'm talking about the old secret repaired and the origin of religion, philosophy stuff. That stuff belongs in my own personal blog page. It doesn't belong on that website. So I need to move those or get them transferred as soon as I can. But I don't think there's a lot of else. There's a lot of editing that needs to be done too. I've had some feedback by people saying that you need to cut a lot of that shit out because no one's going to read it anyway. And so I've taken that on board as well.
Yeah. I think getting things really succinct and simple and easy to comprehend, I think is always easier for people to come on board.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Alex. What else do we need to understand about this?
What's easy to understand? Unity is strength. I'm looking for an image, and I tried to Google the image. It's a workman holding a bunch of sticks. You know what I mean? Imagine holding a bunch of pencils. You've got about 15 pencils in your hand, right? You're holding them, trying to break it. And there were two hands like that, holding this bunch of sticks, as if they were trying to bend it. And the inscription underneath just simply said, "Unity is strength." Immediately when you see that image, you know instinctively, intuitively, that you can break one pencil, but you can't break 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so this image speaks 1,000 words.
Okay, so Alec, are you willing to do some of the mock-ups and get some of those testimonials of advertisers, users, website visitors as a next step?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are you okay with us sharing this video so others can view it and understand it?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'll share it.
Okay.
Any people watching who think, I know what he's trying to do, and they'll provide some feedback, and this allows the scheme to get some more traction, I guess, because I need input from other people. Otherwise, I have to rely on my own limited resources.
If you want feedback, are you able to type? I guess you said you couldn't, but could you provide either an email or a Facebook address or some way for people to get in touch with you, Alex? Or I can type it in if you say what it is.
Group startup.
Group startup?
Yep. Double S. You got the double S in there?
Groups startup.
Yeah. .net.
.net.
And
like that?
And then in the menu there should be a contact.
Okay, so use the contact us or contact me menu item. Yes?
Yeah, there's a contact button on halfway across. This allows me to send feedback for the developer.
Okay. All right, Alex. Yeah, I look forward to seeing those next step mock-ups. That would help me understand this a bit more deeply. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to add some images to a folder, but I didn't get time to do it before the session. But that gives me something to work on anyway. Thanks.
All right. All right, Alex. Thanks for taking the time.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll look forward to the next step that you want to show, okay?
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Bye-bye.